the fashion.
He had dementia, but he had no circulation in his legs. Been breaking down for a couple of years, and then he had the COPD, so the combination of it all. But
You
in
know
the
what,
end,
it is bottom line, God owns, we all get through it.
he fought till the bitter end.
That's, he was going out with him, he's driving.
Yeah, he's gonna be wanting to drive. I said, not
I
running
said,
the car.
something's wrong. I'm not riding. I wouldn't either. I have to go sit down.
Okay, okay.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, I know.
Okay. Anna, how you doing, man? Pretty good.
You know what?
This is cute.
No, it looks the
Doesn't
same.
even tell you how hard you look at the bed. I never knew. So much.
See, that's too bad.
I thought it was yes.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna hide.
I met you. Barley's or something.
Nice to see you again.
Who's a twin?
They look alike.
And he's a twin.
Yeah.
I know who he was.
Yeah, no one wants to be.
I always take a survey.
And I'm with them.
Yes. If anybody doesn't improve, I know. This is how I keep it in line. 5:30 is the, five starts at 5? This has been a long couple of days, yeah. Okay.
Well, we didn't want to be late, so now we're early.
Where do you want to sit? Right here?
I know.
Or
Oh,
you
it's
sit-
okay. If anything, it's like. Adam, Carol Verdun. So sorry. Jerry?
Joe.
Joe?
Yeah, hi. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Carol Rabbi.
Nice to meet you, Carol. Hi.
Oh, lady. A long time. Yeah. Remember the days of my haven't had it with me since.
I've been many years since. Unfortunately, some people.
I'm so worried about him, right? Crazy person. What is this?
Do you want a coffee candy?
No, it's not coffee, it's cookies.
Do you want, I got from London. Want one?
Yeah, actually, sure.
They're wonderful. Wait, I hit all
I love them.
I have chocolate.
That's her husband. Sandra's husband. I was at your party.
Made a good time.
We had a good time.
I remember, so, it was a temple show.
Yeah.
I remember.
Did one?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But you said important.
Oh, thank you.
How many years ago was it?
Ooh, that was 13 years ago.
Yes, I remember something. No, I'm serious, I do remember.
That.
And other things, I can't remember.
Remember it.
I only remember the temps.
That's all anyone cares about is the food.
Yeah.
And the event.
Freezing.
Cold, yeah, it's a little cold.
Yeah. Licorice? You like that? Okay, the refund. Or return. That's a refund.
We just like to eat what we got.
Your return. I returned.
Joanne, I have to do one. Okay, sure.
Oh, gosh.
There's some good. Yesterday, it's just sunrise.
I see.
Hot out.
Show me your phone.
Find them.
You had your.
I don't think I'll have any pictures of the food though.
Part there, you know.
The party was at Excalibur. It's now Tao,
Yeah.
It hasn't existed.
right by the Rock and Roll McDonald's.
What?
Right by the Rock and Roll McDonald's.
Oh, you were rocking.
We were rock and roll all night.
Yeah.
A little chilly.
Joanne, you should really.
I want to.
No, sure, I'll give you a ride.
You love it? I love it. Oh. The black or reds?
Need water on that? You okay?
Yeah.
Hot out.
Yes.
Yeah. That's be nice. You want? No?
Yeah, it's been a minute. You used to come around Temple Showroom, right? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's really good to see you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Sure, I'm full already.
and keeping you busy. May I fix your jacket here real quick? There you go. You got it. There you go. I realize you just did it. Yeah, we used to see it at temple all the time. Back out of Tuesday and Friday. What was Tuesday? Oh, it was the Monday meal? Monday meal? Yeah. Yeah.
Are you guys still doing the Monday meal? That's what I just did my business project.
Nice. So 50 some odd people every week.
I love them.
Is there something else that you do?
Oh, because it's hard to decide.
Yeah.
Sandra did two things.
Yeah.
I put food in the bag.
It's something where you can sit.
He was wrong.
Because I think you should do it again because you enjoyed it.
We'll find a place for you.
Yeah, it's really
Just solid ice.
I went to Mertz.
And Rabbi down there.
And no, actually,
Put the programs in the books and give them out.
Oh yeah, oh right. Yeah, we don't actually print out programs anymore. Even. Yeah. We put up QR codes. Even the temple, we're putting up QR codes. Yeah. That's what we do now.
I can't figure it. I figured that when they walked in, they were walking in front of us. Yes, I can see the beauty now. Yeah. Bruce and I have been friends since 1990. This is my mentor. Yes, yes. Welcome to Chicago weather.
Oh yes, yes. Yeah. I heard that a lot. I heard that a lot too. But I still turned around and I do the same to religious school kids right now. Oh. Oh yeah. I love it. Your work. So the tradition is Reformed traditions and to be closer to purpose of it is to show her that feeling that's on the inside to people like, it sucks to walk about the world when you're in mourning. And this way people know, at least those who know know.
Yeah, but you're just well, I think it's even more. We have a lot of friends.
I've heard all about you, all with my best. Hang in there, you look good. He's in top run. Oh, I knew it was top run. Oh, so nice. It's like Palm Beach.
I'm Rabbi. What's your relationship? Oh, wonderful. It's amazing.
He was wearing the other day at a birthday party next to like a little store. With something, you know, we had the like wrappers on.
If I may have everyone's attention, please. We're about to begin our service. If I could ask everyone to please take a moment to turn your cell phones to their silent mode before we begin. Conducting our service today is Rabbi Scott Gelman.
Sandra and Adam, you guys make this? You guys up from so the three of us we have these Korean ribbons. This is just a moment of gratitude. It is from this moment of Torah where Joseph tears his
To mourn is the price that we pay for having the courage to love others. Because even in these moments of grief, we know that the wonder of human life is so far too complex, too magnificent to be memorialized in endless pain. The gifts of spirit that our Bruce gave us cannot be measured or weighed, or can they even be tarnished by time. Even in our darkest hours, we know that some of his light and some of his warmth will always be with us, bringing comfort and courage, and the fullness of time, bringing peace. We are here today to remember Bruce, to join all of our hearts together, to give comfort and strength to his family. I'm Rabbi Gelman of Temple Sholem of Chicago, a community that has known the Mertz family for many, many years. And on behalf of the whole Temple Sholem family, the whole Temple Sholem community and our clergy, we offer our deepest condolences to this beautiful family. Mourning is a time filled with many emotions, many memories, those bitter and those that are sweet. And in that bitterness and that sweetness, I want to acknowledge that in this room, there is pain. We're not going to sugarcoat it. There are ruptures in relationships in this room. But every single one of us here, every one of us had different experiences with Bruce. Every one of us had moments that brought huge smiles to our faces. Moments where we were cheering, watching basketball with him, whether we wanted to be next to him cheering or not. We all had our own experiences. We all got to share the love that Bruce brought into this world. We all had moments of joy and moments of difficulty as well. But there is that one thing that we all share, that we have come here to have that singular focus, to remember Bruce for exactly who he was and what he meant to each and every one of us. And so we begin our service with the recitation of psalms and prayers, thus linking Bruce's life with the millennia-old tradition of our Jewish people and the eternity of God. Bruce brought a lot of love to this world because he was shown love early on. 93 years in this world. 93 years of the world showing him love, showing him difficulty, then showing him love again, with embraces of support and embraces of toughness. His beloved wife, Lori, his beloved children, Cassandra and Adam, and so many other families that have come together in ways both of love and in support. He will be remembered by so many friends that have come together here today. Because when Bruce did just about anything in his life, he went all in. Especially when he was with you. When you were with him at dinner. When you were with him rooting on the Bulls or the Bucks. When you were out enjoying life with him, he was there. He was fully present with you. He showed you by being there in those moments. He lived as if he had truly time for everything. Time for everyone, and he wanted to have his fingers in every single thing. He wanted to do the things his way and fully his way. He never stopped moving forward. Never stop being 100% Bruce. And so one of the readings that I want to start with this morning is words from the book of Ecclesiastes, words that are familiar to us. L'chol 8. There is a time for everything, a time for every experience under heaven, a time for being born and a time for dying, a time for planting and a time for uprooting the planted, a time for destroying and a time for healing, a time for tearing down and a time for building up, a time for weeping and a time for laughing, a time for wailing and a time for dancing, a time for throwing stones and a time for gathering stones, a time for embracing and a time to refrain from embraces, a time for seeking and a time for losing, a time for keeping and a time for discarding, a time for tearing and a time for sowing, a time for silence and a time for speaking, a time for loving and a time for hating, a time for war and a time for peace. And it feels like Bruce had time for all of it. But even over 93 years, it feels like it was not enough. Friends, we're going to recite the words of Psalm 93, Psalm 23 at the back of our program. One of these lines that truly sticks out to me today is that we shall walk through the valley of the shadow of death. We've heard this line dozens, maybe hundreds of times. But what does it mean to walk through the valley of the shadow of death? I think it means that we are not to skip around it. We are not to run through it. We are to be present in it, in that way that Bruce was present, in that way that we are acknowledging the pain of losing Bruce, of not having that giant personality in this world any longer, not having his love with us in our home any longer. And so as we recite that 23rd Psalm, I'll invite you to truly sit in that pain, in that valley of the shadow of death. Let us pray in English together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leading me beside the still waters. God restores my soul. God leads me in the paths of righteousness for God's name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. To begin our remembrances, I'd like to invite up Bruce's love of his life for the last 14 years, Lori.
When you love, you mourn. Bruce and I were lucky to share a beautiful love affair, deep respect for one another, blessed by the universe for putting us together. And our first date was the beginning of dates night after night. We laughed, talked endlessly about everything. He taught me, and I taught him. Our date nights never ended. We traveled all over the world, which is my passion. Soon after became Bruce's too. Our winters were spent at our home in Las Vegas. From the inception of me being in tow to my new home, I had to learn poker, Bruce's passion. So he taught me poker. We spent endless afternoons at the poker tables together, and actually I became intrigued with the game. We had good days and bad days at the game, as in life. Then we would laugh. He adored my cooking, our evenings in our dining room, enjoying our dinners, wine, music, our magnificent view of the lake, sitting endlessly for hours.
He would love to speak about his childhood as an only child raised alone by his beloved mother, Sidel, whom he adored. His career began at an early age selling men's clothing. One day, someone in the industry told him he should become a sales rep, a win-win with that infectious personality. On to New York, making his inroads in the clothing industry, soon Format was born, his claim to fame, men's neckties and socks. His insight for designing bold patterns that started a new generation of how men dressed. Format ties were worn by the likes of Jay Leno, Johnny Carson, Kardashian, and sports athletes. That was not enough. On to creating the Milwaukee Bucks, starting Kareem Abdul's career. Ultimo on Oak Street, pizza and Christmas stores in Water Tower, oil wells, and a jazz club. I would often ask him while listening to his stories, were you afraid to take on all these endeavors on? He looked at me with that grin, simply saying, no, never thought about it. Just had fun doing it all. Every year we would attend the men's show in Vegas. It is so large it's housed in 2 convention centers. We would walk down the aisles, no exaggeration, people stopping him left and right, hugging him, sharing stories, remembering what a huge force Bruce is in the industry, the chairman of the board. So many commented to me what a great guy is and that I'm so lucky. So true, I am blessed being married to my darling. Every day he would say to me, did I forget to tell you how much I adore you? And thank you for being my wife, up until the end, motioning the words. So endearing, the love many people had for him. I will never forget, we were visiting my family in Scottsdale. We both walked into my grandson Ryland's room as he stood in the crib pointing his finger at Bruce, calling, Brewy, Brewy, over and over. I think Ryland was 2. I happened to tell a close friend of ours, Arnie Granite, one evening over dinner the story. From that moment on, Arnie called him Brewy. If it was a phone call or in person, he would say to Brewy, who loves you, Brewy? And Bruce's response was that wide, infectious grin. Bruce certainly did it his way. A lifetime job well done, my love. Bruce, my darling, you will always be indelible in my heart forever. I love you so much. I want to read a good friend of ours that I just mentioned, Arnie Granite, can't be here today. He's in the hospital. But he wanted to write this eulogy for Bruce. When Bruce Mertz was born, I bet that he came out with shades, looking good, and a one-liner. My only regret with Bruce is that I met him too late in life. The moment we met, he was my brother, and I knew we'd have rocked it together. When my dear friend Lori introduced us, I knew she had found a winner. He was the whole package. I called him Brewy every time I would engage with him. I would say, Brewy, how you doing? And who loves you, baby? And he would reply, you, with a big smile on his face. He was a cool, hip, and fun to hang out with. My Bruce. Oh, I'm sorry. He lived a full, well-rounded life. He was a visionary. He owned clothes stores, nightclubs, ties and cologne lines. Whenever Bruce completed a thought or a conversation, he would say, next, to move forward. And I would bet when Bruce showed up at the pearly gates, he looked directly in the cake beaver's eyes and would proudly say, next, with a wise smile on his face. We will miss all, Brewy. Peace, brother.
Lori, I especially love that in those stories you have folks on both ends of the age spectrum so gladly calling him Brewy. In this week's Torah portion, it's about this guy named Pinchas. The Israelites are all counted, but the Hebrew in it is striking. God tells Moses, Se'u et rosh, lift up the head of every person, count them one by name. Not as a faceless multitude, but each soul, each person is seen, each person's experience is precious. I'm thinking about that phrase, each counted by name. And I'm thinking about Bruce. because, as Lori shared, if you ever walked a convention floor with Bruce Mertz, you know what it sounded like. Oh, Bruce, Bruce, Bruce! Everyone knew him, aisle by aisle. Men half his age, or even babies, knowing him, knowing his name, wanting to shake his hand, to say they knew him. He was a man who knew the world by name, and the world knew him as well. He was a man who, through sheer will, lifted up his own head, who rose from a borrowed corner of a one-bedroom apartment all the way to his very own castle in the sky. Pinchas in the Torah portion is a great portrait of decisiveness as well. Pinchas sees in a single charged moment what must be done, and he does it. No hesitation, no waiting for permission. He just trusts his instincts. And for Pinchas's boldness, God grants him, as we read, a brit shalom, a covenant of peace. I want you to hold on to that boldness, because that was Bruce. And hold on to that peace, because that was Bruce as well. I think if Bruce had his own TV show, you know that it would start right on his face with those big sunglasses. He's strutting down the street in a really great hat, dressed to the nines, with the music of Frank Sinatra's I Did It My Way playing in the background. I think most of us sing those words as a kind of wish, but Bruce lived I Did It My Way as a fact. Every choice was his. Every choice was his own, made on his terms. He was proud, he was forceful, and Bruce was entirely himself. He would not have wanted to be remembered any softer even than he lived. He was proud of himself. He did it his way from the very beginning, though the beginning handed him almost nothing to work with. A Chicago boy born in 1932, raised by his single mother, Sidel. He was raised in his grandmother's apartment because money was thin. Sidel worked a secretary's job and whatever other jobs she could find, often working 3 at a time. But she slept on the sofa because she wanted Bruce, her son, her only child, the love of her life, to have the bed, to be comfortable. She raised Bruce alone, and she never remarried. Her whole world was Bruce. And Bruce adored her. Even to his final days, her name was on his lips, even just last week. He didn't always say his gratitude aloud, but oh, he showed it. He cared for her to the end of her life, buying her an apartment right on Lakeshore Drive because she wanted to be close enough that she could walk over to Temple Sholem. That devotion that Bruce had was the foundation that everything was built on. And he did it his way for his friends as well, which is to say, once you were part of Bruce's world, he kept you forever, whether you liked it or not. Some of his closest friendships reached all the way back to boyhood, including Buddy Fink, Lenny Rothschild among them, those who stood behind Bruce, stood with Bruce for more than 9 decades. And that was Bruce's way with people. Once you were his for life. Oh, what a thing we can learn. And he even had to do it his way. He even got the opportunity to do it his way as a young father. When his children, Cassandra and Adam, when you were young, Bruce raised you at the beginning mostly on his own. He was a young man trying to figure out how to do this as he went, all of a sudden becoming a single father. How was he to do this? But he knew something about that kind of childhood because he lived it as well. He made sure to give you a home, give you a foundation, try his best to set you up, try his best to be there for you. He gave you what he thought would be your best education. He sent you to Anshe Emet because he wanted you to have that grounding in community, in continuity. And he surrounded you with the thing that he learned from his mother, from Sidel. He wanted to surround you with Sidel and Sidel's love as well. So you got the opportunity to grow up adoring Sidel just as much as he had. And he was proud of you, proud of who you've become. Though difficulties ensued, as so many relationship and difficulties ensue, I think Bruce was always comforted knowing that the two of you were always there. You were his lineage, his blood that brought goodness into this world. And where that song, I Did It My Way, really comes alive was in Bruce's work. Oh, Bruce is so proud of all of that work that he did. Bruce was simply fearless. Lori, I love that line that you just shared. You asking him, weren't you scared of this? Like putting money, putting time, putting effort into a new venture. Let's try this new thing. He wasn't scared. He went and he jumped. He knew he could do it. But I think, as we're going to get to, I think one of the most important things about Bruce and his intuition was not just knowing the next trend, the next big idea, the next business, but was not getting so deeply attached to them that he knew when to step away as well. That is a deep skill that was so important for him in business as well. Because those jumps into business, they were there. Starting behind that counter of the men's store and getting that opportunity from that sales rep. Oh my goodness, what an opportunity that set him sailing. It was all he needed. It was an opening, an opportunity. Then he would build and build and build. That necktie company, that cologne company, those menswears company, working with designers from around the world and putting his ties on men who he was so proud of. And here's the thing about instincts that I was so amazed by. In that year 2000, with the business thriving, he saw Casual Friday coming down the line. And he knew that not only was Casual Friday coming, but even Casual Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, and Monday. And he saw the whole world loosening their ties. And he knew. He sold. He sold at exactly the right moment. He didn't just have great intuitions of when to dive in, he had the nerve of when to get out. But neckties were only just that one chapter. Ultimo on Oak Street, the first boutique to bring European designers to Chicago. The women's store that was go-go's, mini skirts and boots. A pizza place? A Christmas store? A Christmas store has got to be my favorite one. A jazz club, oil wells. It's things that Bruce was not an expert on, but he saw promise. And I think that's one of the best things that we can see, is when you see promise, whether it's a business or a person. He knew how to lift them up. He saw an opening and he walked through it every single time. And there was something he was an absolute expert at, and that was basketball. His very, very first love. It was something that threaded through his whole life. A boy growing up in Albany Park, he was good enough that the year he finished Roosevelt High in 1951, he famously, in an article, took the floor against the Harlem Globetrotters at Lane Tech. And in the best moment, he stole the ball clean from their star, Marcus Haynes. He stole it as he was going on and took it down the court for a layup. Bruce said, "I was the hottest thing in the neighborhood, a hero in Albany Park." Years later, his old pickup buddy friend Wesley and him decided, you know what, Milwaukee, they could surely use a basketball team. And so they founded it. They founded the Milwaukee Bucks in 1968. And by the way of a coin flip, they got the first pick in the draft, and they spent it on that young center, Lou Alcindor. For those who are of a younger generation, including myself when I heard that name, I did not know who Lou Alcindor was, but a couple years later, Lou, under the name Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, would bring the Milwaukee Bucks to their first world championship, the fastest any team in major sport has ever done it. Because the first time that Bruce watched Lou Alcindor, soon Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, go the length of the floor and dunk, a friend asked Bruce, "What do you think about that?" And Bruce said, "We're not paying him enough." Did you know, actually, that Bruce even shot competitive skeet? He had cabinets of silver to show for it. Because whatever Bruce did, he went all in, completely his way. And he loved family in his way, too. His grandchildren, Zachary and Spencer, those grandchildren by blood, and his growing family of grandchildren. But Zachary, he'd text you to come to a Bulls game or go out to dinner, go out to Las Vegas. And I think for a man who was not naturally sentimental, his calls, his texts to each one of us, we know they were not a small thing. But showing up was how Bruce said, "I love you." It was around, Zachary, your bar mitzvah that he would drive you to Hebrew lessons and pick you up from school. And on that day of your bar mitzvah, he was bursting with pride. He showed his ways in his own particular way. It wasn't the most natural thing for him, but when he showed it, you knew it was there because he was there with you, 100%, one person at a time, fully there. Because Bruce did not give his heart to only one person in his life. He had room enough for many loves, each in his own season, each one whole, each one complete, each moment, each love loving. And so also from 1979 for 33 years, Gail was Bruce's wife, sharp, strong, entirely her own person. And when ALS took her slowly in 2012, it broke Bruce's heart. He chased down every doctor and every hope he could find in search of care for her. Because that's how Bruce loved. Not thinly, not all at once, one chapter at a time. He had love enough for every single one of you. And then came this last chapter of love, and his brightest, his Lori. After a lifetime of building things, Bruce built the thing he treasured most at the very end of his life, love with Lori. You fell quickly in love, meeting on that one single date, and that was it. 14 years together, and it will never feel like enough. Teaching you his loves of life, and you teaching him loves of life. You filled your days with concerts, with dancing, and long, slow dinners up there on your castle up high above the lake. Music on, a glass of wine, 2 hours of conversation, no rush to end it. Lord, you continued to open the world to him, getting him to do things that he hadn't done, getting him to travel more than he'd ever done before. Morocco twice. Or at his 90s, he rode a camel in the desert and slept under the stars. Vietnam, Cuba, Italy, France. Bruce wasn't going to do any of those trips on his own. You turned into adventure. And he turned to you completely. But as we look at that whole arc of Bruce's life, all of the complexity, all of the beauty, all of the difficulty, all of it Bruce's way, from that borrowed corner in his grandparents' apartment to just a studio when they could afford it with his mother, then finally a one-bedroom, still living with his mother. And then finally, he earned his castle in the sky with the woman he adored. And he did it. Bruce did it his way. Which brings us back to that Torah, that covenant of peace. Pinchas acts boldly his whole life, and what he gets granted is shalom, is peace, rest, a wholeness that is earned. Even at the very end, when Bruce's body was failing, that will of his was still there. That covenant of peace. He was still there, celebrating who he was, proud of what he had done, entirely himself. So take this with you. Bruce did it his way. And the gifts of life like this give us the permission to take hold of our lives, to trust our instincts, to walk through the door when it cracks open, to lift up the opportunities, to lift up the people in our lives, to give them strength and support, because we know that we can build that business better, we could build those people better, we could build those relationships bigger and better and more grand. To keep the people in our lives close, to love the ones in front of us fully, completely, to show up. Because even if we live even a fraction of Bruce's nerve, a fraction of Bruce's loyalty, a fraction of Bruce's passion in this world, then each one of us will have honored him, and his memory will be for a blessing. In Bruce's honor, we're going to recite the words of El Maleh Rachamim, words that invite God to hold the soul of Bruce close and forever, invoking Bruce's Hebrew name of Baruch. I'm going to invite us to rise in all the ways that we are able. El Maleh Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, המצא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, עם קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת ברוך בן צדל שהלך לעולמו. בעל הרחמים יסתירהו בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו, אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר Amen. God of abundant mercy, God most high, may the soul of our loved one who has gone into eternity find the gift of perfect peace of your embrace, that together with the holy and the pure, whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold our Bruce, our Baruch ben Sidel, close to you forever, so that his soul may be bound up in the bond of eternal life. May he find a home with you, and may he rest in peace. As together we say, Amen. We may be seated.
There will be a meal this evening at Gibson's Bar and Steakhouse in the upper room at 1028 North Rush Street in Chicago today from 5 p.m. until 8 p.m. In just a moment, we're going to escort the family and the casket from the chapel. There will be a public entombment. Everyone here is invited to attend if you wish to witness the entombment take place. However, I will ask everyone to please remain here for about 15 minutes as they prepare the crypt for the entombment. At this time, I'll ask for everyone to please rise and stand in place as we escort the casket and the immediate family from the chapel. I'll ask everyone else to be seated, please. And we're going to ask everyone to remain here until I come down and dismiss you.